Meet the most beautiful creature of the future. Her name is Barbarella, and she makes science fiction something else. Jane Fonda is Barbarella.
Barbarella, the movie, came out in 1968. Was directed by Roger Vadim. And you can almost guess that Jean-Claude Forest had already Jane Fonda in mind as Barbarella when he started his Barbarella comic in 1962, because the likeliness, the similar look between his character and Jane Fonda is quite striking, I think. Forest's art style, drawing style, is quite rough, very fluid, always keeping the character of feather and ink drawing. And it's almost like he writes his drawings more than maybe he draws it. You understand what I mean? And to modern sensibilities, maybe some of his panels look a bit unfinished. We are used to these perfect art that was treated several times through computers and otherwise, until it's more or less dead sometimes. But Forest's art, in contrast, really breathes, in my opinion, at least. And I can't think of a science fiction comic that was, or that is, less interested in technology. The progress in technology is more taken as a given. And Forests can build his stories upon that. I like his goofy side characters and all the giant cast of different figures and original characters. And though the comic is clearly aimed at a male audience with this female lead character who undresses every few pages with more or less obvious or nonsensical reasons, it's nevertheless quite a strong woman, actually. At least she chooses her love interests and the guys or girls with whom she shares her night or whatever daytime it is.
Shall I tell you what I would like?
I think I know.
Yeah, these rounded forms and interior designs really cry out 60s to me, and there are always these nice little freaky stuff things like this flesh-eating carnivore ear that has to be fed. Here, you see it in the background. And there's quite some humor to it. For instance, take this sequence here where Barbarella fights with the weapons of a woman and she undresses in front of her enemies. Okay, this is maybe not the most feminist comic ever, but as you can see, she knows how to use a gun, even though here the weapon jams, and Barbarella comments it with, "Uff, this weapon maintains the drama, or delivers drama. It jams." "Durian, do something. Ah, if I only could see something." You would see a mad one who gets whipped. Striptease in the rain is strongly forbidden. And dry humor like this makes this comic really readable. The words by Forrest sometimes are really funny, sometimes are poetic, sometimes wacky, not really predictable, and not so cliché as you might think it would be. And he has this nice ideas and characters, like this angel, this giant angel without sight and without memory, who's the savior of Barbarella here. Maybe one of the strongest inventions.
I got him.
Here's this guy who lives in a water tank, and some years before Star Trek, he can beam himself from one tank to another. Let's see. Oh, here he beams this little clown guy into the tank instead. Yep. Here you see the feeding of the ear again. The whole comic is that's a nice machine here, where you can learn languages, but based upon your libido system in your body, your lust. You use your lust to learn. Very Barbarellian Forrest's idea, I think. So, yeah, it's absolutely a 60s comic if you just look at this one panel that I really like. And here on some planet you see the Parliament of the Elders, which turns out to be just a heap of talking skulls or talking heads. Yeah. But Barbarella knows how to deal with them, of course. As she knows how to deal with many other tricky situations before and after. So even though the focus is mainly on the lead character Barbarella and the beauty of her body and so on, and that doesn't hurt nobody, at least not me, we got the feeling or the sense for the world around her, and that it's drawn in the 60s style adds to my pleasure. Nice stuff. And I like this coloring. I couldn't figure out if this was just the coloring of the reprint. My book here is from the 90s. Or if it's the original coloring from Forrest. There's no mentioning about the colorist anywhere. So I think it's maybe Forrest himself who did this. And it's quite a fitting, beautiful, very colorful, and therefore fitting treatment. So we have a real drug trip here in the end, where the drawing style changes significantly. And that's really speaking of the 60s. No comic without a drug trip. Yeah, it starts and goes on for some pages. Yeah, obviously with some sexual content. And talking about the drawing style over the run of these 4 hardcovers I own. Oops, here. The drawing style gets more detailed in the end, towards the end, in the last part. It's the last part, yeah. The mirror of spheres, or the mirror ball, you would say. You see that the Forrest's art style doesn't change dramatically, but became more detailed. Even though I must say I like the first 2 parts more.
Barbarella is a 5-star, double-rated astronavigatrix Earth girl whose specialty is
Love.
I forgot to mention I have another edition of the 2nd volume of Barbarella, The New Adventures of Barbarella. And I don't know where I get it. I think it's from a flea market or so. And it has this duotone version of the comic. Which I don't like as much as the colored one. But I wanted to show you it. Just in passing. Quite briefly, because I guess the Barbarella comics are maybe more often more available in this version. But unfortunately, because for me the color is an important element of the Barbarella comics. Maybe just because I've read them in the colored version first. Anyhow, that's it for now. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.
see Barbarella do her thing in the wild, excessive machine.
Sort of nice, isn't it?